Hey, what's up, guys? Kaiser here, coming at you with another book review. I want to recommend books to you that are really going to change your life, not just boring books or books that happen to be on my shelf, but books that are going to have a real impact on you. And today I have a book written by one of my favorite people that's online these days, doing podcasts and speaking a lot. And now his book is an absolute bestseller. His name is David Goggins, and the book's name is Can't Hurt Me. Now, first off, there's a lot of fitness lessons and application from this book. On the cover, you can tell David used to be a really big, chubby guy, and now he's a really skinny guy. So obviously there are fitness implications, but it's a book about life. David's life has been fascinating, right? And his journey from that big guy to this guy, that's also been totally fascinating. So there's a lot that we can learn from, a lot of lessons we can learn. And I mean, honestly, I don't even know where to start. Well, first off, let me tell you a little bit about David. Now, one thing I mentioned already is he's all over the internet. He's done all the major podcasts. I think he's doing a lot of speaking. So you can find him. If what I'm saying interests you, you'll be able to listen to him for days. Maybe you know about him already. He's a decorated Navy SEAL. He was in all branches of the military. So that in itself is interesting, right? When it comes to fitness, you know, obviously people in the military, they make major sacrifices. They go through a lot. Navy SEALs are known for that, how tough their Hell Week is, and he details that. That's a week where they go an entire 5 days and only sleep about 6 hours in 5 days. Now, most of you, me, we need at least 6 hours a night. They sleep that much in an entire week, and what are they doing the rest of the time when they're not sleeping? They're working out non-stop. So that's something he talks about and he details. But one of the main things is that he also talks a lot about his life, about his upbringing. It's kind of like a heart-wrenching story. You're really gonna feel bad for him, but it's heartwarming in the sense that he was able to overcome all of that. A lot of us, I know myself at different points in my life, maybe now even, and I'm sure it's the case with you, we make excuses for ourselves because of our lives, because of our upbringings. Well, I have news for you. Yours wasn't as bad as David's was. But at a certain point, he was like, enough is enough. I'm going to change it. If you think your high school years were bad, wait till you hear David talk about his. So he was able to overcome all that, like I said, go into the military, and then he actually started to crave the hardship. Crave the hard stuff. Now, what do we do as humans? We're always looking for the easy way out. 6-minute abs. If a program is too hard, people don't want to do it. People don't want to work out. They sit on their couch. And there is like some sort of, something built into us as people to be lazy. I don't think that there's anything really wrong with that. But if you allow that to dominate your life too much, well, let me back up. Let me preface that. The reason why I don't think anything is wrong with that is because you shouldn't be doing unnecessary activity. When we go to the mall, what do? We take the closest spot to the door. Well, you know what? You want to get in and out of the mall. You don't want to spend all day walking. There's something you want to do, so get out of there. If you're trying to accomplish a goal in life, why would you take the longest route? You don't want to take a shortcut, but you want to take the shortest possible route. So I think in a lot of cases, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it was ingrained into humans because if you burn too many calories, if you don't have like the next food source available to you, if you're not resting, you may die. You will actually work yourself to death in, the environment where our bodies and we evolved, where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. But now here, our lifestyle, if you're tired, you can sit on the couch, you can take a nap, you can watch a movie. So you can get rest on demand if you need it. You can take a break. So you don't have to be lazy anymore. Fill your time up, push yourself as much as you can, and start to enjoy that process. That's what David talks about. Another thing he talks about is that how he always has a chip on his shoulder, and he uses that. He's done amazing things. I mean, I don't think I'm giving this book, guys, enough justice. He's run 100-mile races, 200-mile races. He's ran like a marathon a day for a month. You know, I mean, just ridiculous feats and accomplishments, physical accomplishments. And what is it that would get someone to do that stuff? He calls it his cookie jar. People have doubted him, done wrong things to him. He's done the wrong thing himself. So being mad at himself and using that chip on his shoulder, he's used that. So a lot of us, if you don't have the motivation, you have to motivate yourself. You have enough motivation in your own life to push you. You don't need to look for anything external. Most people are saying, forget about that stuff, but no, you can actually use it and utilize it. That's what David does. And another thing too, one of the things that I love the most about the book is that whatever you're trying to do physically, in the light of David's accomplishments, it's gonna pale in comparison. Like if you don't like to run 5 miles, but you pick up this book and read a story of how he was running 100 miles when he was overweight or just weighed too much and didn't have any supplies and wasn't a runner. He actually broke his feet, he broke his legs, like fractured his bones, running 100 miles. Not something I would recommend. Well, you know what? Running 5 miles a day, running 5 miles every now and then is gonna seem easy to you. You don't feel like working out one day, but you read some of the stuff he talks about, you have no excuses. So he's almost like a guinea pig that went through this suffering. There's someone obviously very famous, Jesus, that we all talk about, that did the same thing, right? Well, he's a more, I guess, real world person that's around now. He went through all this suffering so that what you realize is that what you have to do physically, whatever you've been through, whatever excuses you have, my upbringing, my schedule, my something physically, I'm not cut out for it, I don't have an aptitude for it. I mean, there's one thing he talks about here where after several years of running, after doing several 100-mile races, he discovered he had a heart abnormality. So the blood in his heart was not being oxygenated properly, so his heart wasn't even functioning properly. So again, any excuses I may have, you may have, they don't hold any water when you compare them to what David's done. To get into the Navy the first time, he lost 106 pounds in less than 3 months. So if you're trying to lose 5 pounds, it's going to feel easy. When you hear David talk about it, David's run 200-mile races. He's run 100-mile plus races in the heat, in Death Valley. He's run major races in ice cold weather. So if the weather's bad and you don't feel like running, again, that's not going to feel like too big a deal after you've read this book. So in general, guys, the book from a human interest perspective, fascinating book. I've watched and heard a lot from David already, and there's a lot that I discovered. Really started admiring him a lot more when I read the book. There's a lot from a physical perspective on how much you can push yourself. Now, not everything here, again, I already talked about this, would I recommend for you. There's a lot of schools of thought. I say this over and over again, it's very true. You need to be your own guru when it comes to fitness. Listen to opposites all over the place. Fitness is as much an art as it is a science, so listen to all points of view, read all types of research, find out what works best for yourself. Now, David pushes himself until the gauge is on empty. Actually, until the gauge is all the way past empty and the dial has broken. That's how much he pushes himself. Now, there's other schools of thought when it comes to training that you should never overtrain, that you should never be sore. And that's not like some wimp talking about that. That's championship trainers, championship athletes, that you can put in more time in the gym, you can come into better body and train every day if you're not putting the tank on empty. If you put it on empty, you need 2 or 3 days off, and you're gonna end up working out less, being in worse shape, and burning fewer calories than someone that was only doing 70%. So there's schools of thought that say don't push yourself too hard. that consistency day in, day out is what matters. I actually happen to be someone in that school of thought that you should push yourself, definitely. Most of us are not pushing ourselves enough. I'm not pushing ourselves enough, but you have to put a limit on that gauge. Now, David is the other side. But no matter what, his story is inspiring. I think what you are going to find, and again, I can relate, I'm not pushing myself enough. David will help you do that. And what's some of the other stuff? Well, I mean, I talked a lot about it already, that use whatever bad has happened to you not as an excuse, but as something in the cookie jar that you pull out to push yourself beyond what someone else would have gone through. And that's about it, guys. Just read the book. All right, that's the bottom line. Read the book. You're going to love the book. I haven't done it yet, but David does so much stuff. Maybe I'll reach out to him. I hope to really have him, hope to really meet him, shake his hand. You know, I really believe in that, the contact barrier. If you can shake someone's hand, something just magically is transmitted. I don't know what it is, and it improves your life in some way. But even beyond that, I think even better than the contact barrier is getting into his brain, and that you can do in a book. A book is always even better than a podcast because it's in more depth. They can go back, they can edit it, they can make sure the thought is put across. So this book will truly change your life. It's interesting, first off, but as a fitness person, as someone that is working out hard to get themselves in shape, to be their best possible self. Now, even related to that, there's a story David talks about. It's not in this book, but I've heard him talk about it in podcasts. It's that when he gets to the pearly gates and he meets whoever it is, who is like St. Peter or whatever it is, and they have like the little ledger of who he could have been in his life, he wants to beat that. So he wants to far exceed his full potential. So me or whoever else talks about getting to your full potential, he'd say, you know, fuck that. Go all the way, break that, and shatter that. That's how much you should push. You know, we're not coming back. This is not a practice life. This is not a tryout. This is not a rehearsal. So if you're going to do something, get at it. Stop looking for lazy. Stop looking for easy. Embrace the hard route. Life, believe it or not, is hard. If it's not hard, it's going to get hard. So those are a lot of the things he talks about in this book. So I'm going on and on. Obviously, you can tell I love the book, guys. I love the guy. I really believe in what he talks about. So I have a feeling you're going to love it too, guys. So that was it for today's episode. Bottom line, read the book, enjoy it, find out more about the guy. You'll be hearing from me again soon. Take care.